As you'll know by now, I'm constantly trying to optimize my teaching performance, and reading books is a very important part of that. Yep, contrary to popular belief, I'm not just a pretty bimbo, and I do actually pick up a book now and again. So here are some of the best books that I read in the year 2021 that I used to inform my everyday teaching. Some of these are written specifically for teachers, while others are not teaching books, but I found them so inspiring they've managed to trickle their way into my teaching. These are a mixture of physical books and audio books, because let's face it, I'm a teacher, and where am I getting all this time to read books? So the first book that I read was Mark, Plan, Teach by Ross Morrison McGill. You can see it's pretty worn out, so this is proof that Ross isn't paying me off here, and I do actually read the books from cover to cover. So you're probably thinking, Mark, Plan, Teach is not a very seductive title for a book. Well, bear with me, because this book really helped out my teaching. The gist of this book is that we should view marking, planning and teaching as a cycle, and we should link these three things. Before I read this book, I was definitely guilty of just viewing marking as an annoying thing we had to get out of the way, and I wasn't linking it enough to my lesson planning and teaching. So what this book has allowed me to do is kill two birds with one stone. When I'm marking now, I'm often planning the next lesson based on the common mistakes and the issues that are coming up. And this has resulted in better teaching and better pupil outcomes. But what I was really seduced by was Ross's chapter on marking hacks. Now, Ross takes a very no BS approach to marking. He tells you what effective marking is and what is a waste of time. And this made me realize that I was actually doing a lot of things in my marking that weren't very useful to my students. So the beautiful thing is, after reading this book, I'm now able to spend less time marking, and I've noticed better progress because I'm actually giving the students useful feedback that they can act on. I'm going to do a whole video on marking hacks and how to streamline your marking. So if you're watching this video in the future, and I've already made it, you'll find the link up here. So the second book that has the trial and error teacher seal of approval is Scattered Minds by Gabor Mate. So Gabor Mate is a shrink who's the authority on ADHD. So in this book, he basically explains the reasons why kids often develop ADHD. And plot spoiler, it's not often a genetic thing. It's often actually the result of childhood trauma. So now that I had a better understanding of what causes this condition in children, I'm better able to spot the signs of it in undiagnosed kids. Previously, kids that I thought were troublemakers, I've actually realized may be suffering from ADHD. So now that I'm better able to spot the symptoms, I can understand what's going on in that child's head better. And I can treat them in a way that makes them feel seen and heard without causing disruptions to the class and triggering any uncomfortable situations in which neither I or the student wins. So the next book is The Whole Brain Child by Daniel Siegel and Tina Bryson. Again, this one was very well read, although I think I must have dropped it in the bath at some point. This book was actually written as a parenting book, but I found it had some really useful practical strategies for the classroom. Basically, it tells you what to do to diffuse situations where a child is flipping their lid and having a tantrum. And you do this by getting the child to integrate the different parts of their brain. Now, I'm not going to defame this book by trying to explain this science in my own words. You should check it out if you have problems with kids having tantrums in your classroom, or maybe even your colleagues having tantrums in the staff room. The next book was called Why Students Don't Like School by Daniel T. Willingham. When I first bought this book, I didn't know what to expect, and I was kind of expecting it to be like a Montessori style takedown of traditional school, and I thought he was going to say we should release the children into the woods and just let them explore their own curiosity and construct knowledge for themselves. Actually, Daniel is a cognitive psychologist, so he's the authority on how kids actually obtain knowledge. And I thought this point he made was very interesting. When a child is engaging in critical thinking, they're not using their thinking skills, they're using their working memory. What he's actually saying is the reason why kids don't like school is because it's too hard and they don't have enough background knowledge. So this is actually kind of a defense of old school teaching, making sure students know lots of facts and information, and that we do a lot of practicing to make sure that these facts stick in their heads. But he does stress that we must avoid doing this in a boring way. So this was a bit reassuring actually. It shows that we don't need to be reinventing the wheel, turning every lesson into a mini Silicon Valley. And there was something I read in the book which made me go, oh geez. He made me aware that I have this habit of doing something in my lessons that is causing a huge waste of time and actually doing more damage than good. I'm going to make a whole video on this, so when it's ready, do click the link up here. The next book is the book I wish I read when I was 10 years old. It is Mindset by Carol Dweck. Now, Carol Dweck is the pioneer of the growth mindset theory. It basically argues that there are two kinds of people. There are those that think that your attributes, your intelligence are fixed. You're either smart or you're dumb and there's nothing you can do about it. And then there are those with the growth mindset. And they believe that if they work hard enough or if they adopt a new strategy, they can become good at anything. I'm sad that I only really came across these theories in my 20s because they've had quite a big impact on my life actually. So I definitely suffered from a fixed mindset. I used to have issues with chronic shyness, and I used to elevate everybody else above me. It's only in my late 20s, early 30s that I realized that I wasn't achieving my full potential in life. I wasn't speaking up in enough meetings, doing things that challenged me, or taking up opportunities which would allow me to level up. So now I'm pleased to say I do have a growth mindset, and this is why I'm doing this YouTube channel, because it will allow me to acquire a lot of new skills, challenge me, scare me, and hopefully I'll grow a little bit with each video. I actually think teaching kids about the growth mindset is one of the most important things that you can do. So I've actually taught this concept to kids that are 7 years old. So there's a video coming up about how to teach the growth mindset. Please subscribe, it's coming soon. The next book is the last teaching book, and I've saved the best till last. It is Teach Like a Champion 2.0 by Doug Lemov. Specifically, I want you to read the last, I think it's 2 or 3 chapters, which specifically focus on classroom management. Before reading this book, I was in a bit of a rut. I had one of the most challenging classes that I ever taught, and it almost drove me to quit teaching. But over the summer, I came across this book. And then I went back to school the next school year, and my classroom management had completely transformed. He gives advice that is useful, non-gimmicky, and it could be applied by teachers working in any context. I'm going to bring out a lot of videos on classroom and behavior management where you'll find me gushing over this book, because I use it heavily. So subscribe, because these videos are coming soon. And if you're going to read any of these books, that's the one to read. My 2 other books are wildcard books. They're not teaching books. I've applied them more to my professional development rather than teaching. The first one is The Courage to Be Disliked. Now, this is written by 2 Japanese philosophers. It basically tells us the theory of this dude, the psychologist Alfred Adler. As I said before, I was a shy guy, and this caused me to develop nice guy syndrome. I used to bend my whole personality just to accommodate what I thought other people wanted. This book really gave me the motivation and the confidence to stop people pleasing and to find my authentic voice. And it's also another reason why I produced this YouTube channel. I really want to get my authentic voice and my real opinions about teaching across. It's also encouraged me to speak out when I think something is wrong and to walk away from situations that I don't agree with. And the final book links to the last one. So it is The Tribe of Mentors by Tim Ferriss. What Tim Ferriss has done is interviewed over 130 of some of the world's top performing people. And they really break down what they do to achieve their success, their habits, their mindsets, things like that. So I just found it really, really inspiring reading about all these people who've
made successes of themselves.
And it made me realize there's a world of opportunity out there and that I should stop being complacent and I should seize the day. So if you feel like you're in a bit of a rut and you need some motivation, I highly recommend this book. So thank you very much for tuning into this video. I hope to make this an annual event, so when you're tucking into your Christmas turkey at the end of 2022, don't forget to tune into my channel where I'll be breaking down the best books that I've read this year. So in the meantime, please like and subscribe. This is a new channel. If you did watch this video to the end and enjoyed the content, I would really appreciate it if you could give this video a like and a subscribe. These are the early days for my channel, so a lot of activity will really convince the algorithm to show this video to more people. So thank you and stay tuned for the next video.